That's going to be that's going to be because I would like to think that they go back to the drawing board and say, you know what, we messed this up. Let's just put everything on that cartridge and call it a day. Let's just do it.
That costs money. They're not going to do that.
Right. I know Rockstar. I mean, if there's one company that is in trouble for money, it's definitely Rockstar and Take-Two.
Yeah, cheapest billionaires in the business.
Yeah, they bought 12. They made the largest transaction for a company in gaming at 12.7 billion, but they don't. But not gonna touch those 32 gigabyte carts. I'm saying. Evan, we got another Discord question. I think we're gonna go right into Pokemon Arceus. Actually,
has there been any update on when Gotham Knights might be released this year?
Dude, I thought it was gonna be out before the next E3. I might be right because there might not be an next E3, but I was thinking first half of this year because I thought they would want to have a big marketing push for Kill the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was supposed to already be out. It was supposed to come out last year. So I'm still thinking first half of this year, and they'll just drop a release date, or they'll try to find their way into like a state of play or something. Is my thought there. So I'm hopeful because I am in the mood to play another Batman game. I went and started playing Arkham Knight again recently, just because I want to play another Batman game. So I'm on board for that day one when it drops.
Like co-op. It's gonna have online co-op, right? I think so, right?
Yeah, if we're around it, we can jump in. I think you can just jump in on the fly, right, and go through different missions, then jump out. That's the thing I'm curious about is the progress. How that?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. That makes me a little nervous. Not a lot.
I was watching some of the co-op videos. It kind of seems like it's going to be open world, but we're going to be sort of tethered together, and then the co-op's mostly built for when you go into one of the enemy bases. But we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for that game.
Let's talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus here for a minute. So there was we had a new gameplay trailer. First of all, Jordan, as the resident Pokemon fan, what did you think of that trailer?
Good. I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm excited. I'm still very much reserved on it. I don't know if this is going to be. It's either going to be really great and they pulled it off, or it's going to fall closer to that. Well, it's janky, but it's fine. Yeah, you know. We
should get reviews in like a week and a half. I assume 3 to 4 days before the game comes out, the reviews drop. So, I mean, the gameplay elements they showed. The one thing that was a little weird to me was the one boss battle they were showing off. Because it looked like you were just throwing fruit at it over and over again.
Yeah.
But then it would stop and you go into a battle, mess it up a bit, then go back to throwing fruit. So that was that encounter, and then the one sub quest they showed was just you catching a Pokemon and then bringing it back and showing it to him, and it was like, all right, cool. And I didn't know if there were a tie story into it or something, but that was kind of it.
Didn't they say you catch multiple of the same Pokemon for quests or something, where it's like you get 3 Bidoofs and there's the Bidoof quest? I don't know. It seems weird.
I like they showed off the overall gameplay, the loop that you're mostly going to be doing, which is catching Pokemon, but the idea of it being kind of like a Monster Hunter Pokemon is at least a cool idea. So
yeah, kind of. It's weird, right? Because like you have these Pokemon that just they're angry and they attack you, right?
Yes.
And it seems like they wanted to have like those moments like in Breath of the Wild where you're just walking and you stumble across some big giant that just comes out of nowhere, some big scary boss that's gonna like, oh no, I shouldn't be here, and it's tough, but like you're not Link, you don't fight back, so you just kind of dodge and throw a couple things, or have a Pokemon come out and do some attacks. I don't know. It seems like they have so many ideas, and I really am curious to see how it's going to feel in execution, because that's what I'm really worried about. I don't know how it's really going to feel when you're playing it in the moment. So.
I like the idea of though being out in the field and you just throw a Pokeball at something. If you catch it, your Pokemon gain experience, and it's like this whole big thing. They have a little firework that shoots off from the Pokeball.
That's cool because that's what we've wanted forever. We wanted to see what that would look like.
Yep.
That aspect, it's fantastic. It's the other parts of the gameplay, the battling system and other stuff that I'm more weary on. So
okay, what everyone else think? How are we feeling about Pokemon Legends Arceus like 2 weeks out from release?
Feel good. I think graphically, there's been some.
Oh, we're about to get to that.
With graphics, but I think everything looks good. Like I don't have a I mean, we'll talk about the graphics, but like I think the total package looks really good, and I think Jordan brings up a good point that it could be really awesome, or it could be kind of they tried. I'm gonna say that it's gonna be a really good game. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of a Pokemon hater. I feel like the last couple of years, I just have not liked Pokemon. So I'm just glad something's different. Like, to me, I'm kind of glad that it's more exploration focused and stuff. I'm curious, but it looks like my cup of tea.
Yeah, we'll talk about the graphics like what MVG said, but I mean, I agree on the general part, but I think that the game also, people talk about Breath of the Wild, but if you played Xenoblade, that is very much like a Xenoblade type of thing, like where you just have alphas, right? That's ripped from Xeno.
The level,
That's-
like the
that's
level 90 or level 80
just
enemies
that
that are
just
massive.
there. That's like a Xenoblade thing, not necessarily a Zelda thing. So that's kind of just taken from Xenoblade. With the combat system, I think that you can do some things in the game from like an RPG standpoint, like the strong style and agile style that doesn't work in multiplayer. So that's what it has going for it. Because in a multiplayer, normal, like if it's like regular multiplayer battles, you can't do stuff like that, or you can, but you have to completely change the battle system because now you have Pokemon going multiple times in a row, stuff like that, right? So I do like that they've tuned it for a single player experience because there is no multiplayer in this game. It's just single player. So they have to make things harder. They have to make it to where you have these alpha Pokemon, where you have these different type of boss battles. But one thing with the boss battle, which I am kind of concerned too about throwing the fruit, but like they didn't show the ending of it. So I'm guessing there's other type of phases with boss battles, and I'm guessing there's other things with it because they completely cut out and they did not show the ending of the noble battle. They call it a noble battle. The alpha Pokemon, you can catch those. So I like that type of stuff. I really like when you can go out there and fight really strong, Pokemon, because this game would be bad. I think this would be flat out almost bad if there wasn't some difficulty to it, because there is no multiplayer, because usually that's where you get your difficulty from. It's like being the best trainer in the world going online. You get cooked online, right? So in this one, you can't go online. So I'm glad. I like what they've done there. I do have some reservations about, like I said, we'll talk about the graphics and stuff like that. But when it comes to the gameplay and from an RPG standpoint, it looks extremely solid in terms of the strong style, agile style, and what they're doing with that. And the classic Pokemon gameplay, plus also the action elements combined with it. I like that more than just Pokemon battle, because before there was no action elements, there wasn't anything, it was just you just do the Pokemon battle. So I like that they're incorporating the trainer, because remember, this is like before Pokemon and people lived together, so they don't have that relationship that Pokemon had with people beforehand. This is before that, so you're actually like a trailblazer for that, actually having Pokemon living with people and becoming a trainer. So I like that aspect about the game.
Yeah, I was Jordan. Let me ask you this: there are reservations within the Pokemon community there because of the changes. Because when I brought it up a long time ago, I said they should just change everything, the whole thing. People were not happy with me. Well, so then I said it again just to make sure everyone heard me.
Well, as one would do. They really didn't change everything. Like it's still a Pokemon battle when you're battling with a couple tweaks. The storyline is like it's a lot of beats that are still Pokemon, and it's still very close to the vest that it still feels like Pokemon. It's not having that moment where it's like, oh, they completely changed everything. It's just taking the formula that's worked for so long and experimenting a little bit. And I think would have, for some reason in my head, like when I see this type of gameplay, when you're dodging these Pokemon, but then still sending out a Pokemon to do attacks and you're just kind of running around, I just can't help but wonder, because like you go back to this time when we're not like co-living with Pokemon properly like we do in modern era Pokemon. Why can't it be like the Monster Hunter style? Why can't I as the character just go and punch the Ursaring? Like that'd be like, you're not killing them, you're just knocking them out to capture them or something. Like that's your goal, is to weaken them to capture them, to calm them down. Like that would have been fun.
I did buy Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I play. Did you pick it up? You picked it up too.
Yeah.
You got the double pack, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I'm almost done the game. I'm like the 8th gym. I'm at like last gym, and then I'm like, onto the what do they got now? Like the final trainer run that you do to beat the whole game, become the master. Mm-hmm. And it is a lot of just pressing A. And I've realized that now, playing back through the traditional Pokemon from back then.
That is Pokemon.
Yes, I am as confident as ever that it needed a kind of a shakeup here. So I am happy with them going in this direction to just do something new for Game Freak, like their A team.
Yeah, I'm still excited for it. To answer the wave of questions in the chat about can you romance Pokemon? No. I have several questions for many people in chat, but
don't even joke like that, guys.
I'm assuming
they mean breeding, right? They mean breeding Pokemon.
I don't want to speak for Game Freak because I mean Freak's in their title, so who knows? But
prostitution.
You know, I would assume that definitely not that.
Ball.
No.
Well,
okay, so the other thing that came up from Legends Arceus has to do with the visuals, the graphics. Yeah. It was very back and forth on this one, actually, to the point where Forbes even has an article up that says there's no excuse for Pokemon Legends Arceus looking this bad on Switch. Shout out to Paul Tassi actually for that article there, and that caused quite a reaction, a lot of conversation. Jordan, resident Pokemon fan, how you feel about the visuals of Pokemon Arceus?
They're fine. It's. I mean,
I'm old. I gotta get in touch with the community here through Jordan. Let me know.
They
Jordan.
look fine. The things that are important look fine. Sure, could have looked better. What game can't? The Switch has its limitations. This would have worked better on a supposed get the rumor mill ready. Switch Pro, of course, it would have benefited from a little bit more hardware power. This is also Game Freak's first trying to do something really different. So if the graphics aren't there, but the game is there, and that's all good, then I'd be happy. Now, if both sides aren't there when it comes out, it's a little bit more of a problem. But I'm at that point with the graphics, especially when it comes to the Switch. I'm already expecting it not to get to have certain issues like that, and it not really be important in any way. We can all talk crap about, there's an N64 tree in Pokemon, but how did that ruin the game? Did it still make? Did it make it not?
It elevates the game.
You're emerging. You're immersion.
While I do expect more quality and in these games, and I don't think it's bad to want better for your franchises that you support. I don't care. It's just like another tired issue that doesn't do anything. It's not going to fixing a little graphic whatever they're talking, because the Pokemon look fine. The gameplay itself with the graphics looked fine. What is the big controversy? What were they specifically pointing out that was
my thing with it is I think the environment looks very bland.
Sure. Yeah. I mean that's fine. I'm not expecting it to look like rolling fields and grass. It can't be.
Well, let me ask you this: would you be okay if Breath of the Wild 2 looked like this?
No, of course not. It's the same thing. Sure. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jordan.
No, you're fine.
Zelda's had a while to kind of evolve this world building and this atmosphere, right? Even if we go and look back at Twilight Princess HD, in comparison to Breath of the Wild, very different vibe, but to some people, it's still endearing and they still love it because it's a natural evolution over time. I think as long as I think for Pokemon, it's cool that they're trying new things. Because over time, sure, people might keep buying the same thing, but there are going to be a lot of people that are kind of just going to be it's the same thing over and over again. So I think as long as the new chances that they take, they do well. I'm hoping that if they can establish new foundations and kind of broaden that base a little bit, then they can start building from the ground up. I think if they see that this formula or this kind of style can work, then they'll take riskier chances, hopefully. And then, kind of see a natural evolution like we have with Zelda. So, it's going back from Ocarina of Time, people still love that game, now to Breath of the Wild, and whatever Breath of the Wild 2 is going to hold, whether we're going to be in the same fields or not, they're going to try new things. So with Pokemon, I'm glad they're finally making a new choice. I think with the first trailer they ever showed us, it was wow, this is going to be like Breath of the Wild type scale. And obviously it's toned, a little bit differently. Now we're thinking more Monster Hunter. I think that's still exciting because Monster Hunter has its own pool. But again, let's try new things. And if it does well, if people enjoy it, maybe next time we'll get trees that move, or maybe we'll actually get trees that, in a density that looks like a real forest.
They could do a GameCube tree. Might be the best-selling game then.
Yeah. Fire Emblem Three Houses is still a great game, but the fruit stands.
It's always the fruit stand. First in Halo, now
the Halo fruit.
Halo, and then also,
it's all right. It's all right. The fruit stands, the trees, they don't make the actual content.
The Fire Emblem fruit stand too. Fire Emblem Three Houses fruit. Did you guys see that?
Literally what I just said.
It looked like a bin of Trick cereal. That's what it looked like.
I didn't hear your voice is so high pitched. I thought you said something else. Honestly, I thought you said something else.
Your old man ears can't hear past a certain frequency.
That's true.
Anymore.
I am turning 50 this year, so that's true.
Congratulations, man.
What were you trying to say, Jordan?
No, I just continuing clarifying what I was saying by that. When it comes to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. They've set the benchmark on that, right? This is what we expect from it. They take these long dev cycles to make these games, and they're familiar with the console platforms to do so. When it comes to Pokemon, they're still trying to figure out how to make console games, and I don't expect them from each game to have this incredible blow your mind jump. I would like to see that, but when it's not there, I'm not going like, oh, they've really let me down because their last game was at this level. When Legend of Zelda puts out a game at this level, I don't expect their next game to be so far down. But with Pokemon, it's only for me, it's only going up.
Yeah.
If Sword and Shield was like 10 out of 10, beautiful, they did everything right, and then we got Arceus, I'd be a little like, hey, what just happened here? And so this Game Freak does not. This is them really trying something different out of their wheelhouse. They know how to make Pokemon, a traditional Pokemon game. They do not know, and they have not had much experience doing anything but that. So this is a test. This is a complete experiment that if it works and it's great, this is the future of Pokemon. If it doesn't, boom, scrap. Gen 9's coming out later this year anyway. We're moving on to that.
You think that? You really think that? I think they're going to do separate. I think they're going to still do Gen 9 and do that, and then Legends is going to be a separate thing.
You think it's going to be its own thing?
Yeah, you think it's Let's Go at the end of this year?
No. It's a bit of both. I think that they'll take this style of the Legends and like this open world aspect, like the other features, and turn that into what the next generation will be. But if not, if this grand idea doesn't work, they'll still keep a few things. I would like to see more Pokemon and out in the wild, not just in the the certain zones like in Sword and Shield. But they won't keep the same formula if it doesn't work. They won't keep the battle style if it doesn't work. They won't keep the dodging Pokemon if it doesn't work. That's why it's a separate thing right now that they could incorporate later if they choose to do so.
I'm looking at the preview again. I think it's fine. Graphics. I literally have no issues with the graphics at all.
That's the camp I'm in.
Yeah,
it looks fine. I mean, at this point, I feel like my expectations when it comes to any Switch game is lower, of course. So I'm at this point where I watched the trailer twice, and I'm like, all right, yeah, it looks like a mildly crappy Switch game, but all right, as long as it's fun.
Do you think? All right, well, Jordan just stepped away. All right, so with Pokemon, I've thought about this a bit. Do you think that Pokemon itself is I played Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, and it's a very easy game, and I'm going through it, and I'm kind of disappointed because it feels just really easy, and I'm realizing, man, I played these old, more traditional Pokemon games, even from like Red, Blue, Gold, Silver, all these, when I was a lot younger. I'm like, am I just like, I'm growing up, and I'm like, I want Pokemon to like basically come with me as I'm growing up, and it's like, maybe that's where we are with, again, Jordan's not here to ask him, with just the Pokemon community in general. The game itself was always really geared towards younger gamers or kids, and we all got old and we're like, I want this to be like an old game now.
To be honest, I think that applies to a lot of games nowadays, and I think it's hard, especially a lot of us grew up with our childhoods being part of certain games. There's a certain time where we have to realize it's not necessarily going to be targeted towards us anymore, and that kind of is a hard pill to swallow, because it's like, we're the ones that give you all this money to make it happen in the first place. It's like, well, technically it was our parents at one point, and then it was us. But like, I think there's probably like a balance where you create some games that still are true to the demographic that they should be for, and then maybe you branch out. Maybe Legends is kind of their way to maybe branch out and go for, like a broader range to where it can be more difficult. I think at a certain point, though, we have to realize that we're in unprecedented times when it comes to video games as a main source of entertainment and being one of the biggest industries in the world, and how we're going to gauge, is it just for kids now? Is it for everyone? Do we create a game, the same game for everyone, or do we branch it off into different demographic focuses? It's a marketing nightmare if you're going to try to appeal to everyone, but it is doable. And I think that's why games like Breath of the Wild do so well, is because it just has that flexibility. Jordan's still not back, so
Pokemon's always gonna. It's all the single player Pokemon games. When you play through the campaign, it's always gonna appeal to 10-year-olds. It's always just going to be. This is for 10-year-olds.
Yeah, I got to ask my nephew to trade back and forth so I can get my champ. So
it's just gonna be. And if you want to actually be part of that community, that's for older people. That's going to be the online multiplayer. But not everybody has the time or wants to do that. That's my situation. I love Pokemon. That was my favorite situation. That was my favorite franchise growing up back in the day. But I don't have the time to be sitting there and playing it. So I've moved on to Persona. I've moved on to SMT. Those games are very Pokemon.
SMT is that's probably the
mature and all that. So, and that's okay. Everything doesn't have to be for everyone at every single point. If you want to get into multiplayer and that's your jam, then you're gonna play Pokemon. You're not gonna worry about the single player. Who gives a damn about that? That's how most Pokemon fans. That's how even back in the day. That's how I was, because I never felt that the single players were bad. They were never very good, in my opinion. They were always just mediocre, and it was all about playing your friends and beating that kid on the schoolyard or whatever the case is, right? So I think that to Click's point, I think that's the Legends is somewhat different because they're trying to have okay, we have alpha Pokemon, we have they're trying something to where it can appeal to more people and be more difficult. But the regular Pokemon games, in my opinion, are never going to really appeal to us because they're going to hit that 10-year-old demographic. They're going to hit that, and anybody else who's above that, here's your multiplayer. Then you can play, so.
I will say only one more thing is I think we still need to allow kids to be kids, because I think especially now during this day and age, it's a pretty heavy topic, but I feel like kids are kind of forced to grow up so fast because technology's grown up with us. It's kind of been and grown and matured through us, to where now it's kids are exposed to things younger and younger. But I think it's still good that there are games still targeted towards letting kids be kids and experience things more on a level that's not forcing them to have to grow up too fast. It allows them, and it also gives some parents peace of mind of being okay, I can literally trust this franchise to be
right on that,
Click,
for
my kids at their age. They need
because in video games, I had to have the birds and the bees talk so much freaking earlier than I wanted to, because of video games.
Your daughter.
Yeah. It sucked.
So what did you play?
It's good that you have
everything has sex and violence in it. Even games for younger audiences do.
It's I started out real calm with Grand Theft Auto 5 like a normal parent would.
So Sean had brought up, this is I think a week or two ago, it was around the time, that the best looking Pokemon game he's seen recently is the new Pokemon Snap game.
Yeah.
That's on Rails and all of that, so it's obviously different than what we see in the Pokemon games.
And not Game Freak.
Okay. Recently, they brought in Ilka to make Brilliant Time. And you know what? The visuals at first, people were making fun of them and stuff because it's the chibi art stuff. I didn't really have any issue playing through it with that. It was perfectly fine, I thought. I was all right, I understand what this is. That's fine. Going through it.
No, that team did a very good job on that.
But, and I don't think, I have to imagine their budget was a bit smaller than they were hoping for. Anyway,
sure.
I do wonder if Game Freak had brought someone else in to even co-develop Arceus or Legends, if the game would look better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If Monolith Soft helped out like they helped out with Zelda.
Exactly what I was getting to. Is Nintendo has a 30% stake in the Pokemon company, so I don't think they can necessarily push things around too much other than, hey, let's just keep it on the Switch or something, something like that, or phones. That's kind of what I'm getting, because they help with Breath of the Wild and all of that. I'm they know how to do it. So if they really wanted to, and I almost wonder if that's the next step, if Legends Arceus is actually a game that comes out, does well, they're only going to have one copy of the game selling. It's not going to be inflated from two copies. So we're going to know exactly how well it really sells.
Until year later when we get Super Arceus or whatever.
Yeah, well, if it does well, though, then I almost wonder if that's the next step. Bring in a department of Monolith and let's go to the next level with it for the next Switch or something, years down the line.
Good evolution. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Never a bad thing to bring on talent to a project.
Nintendo's own teams might be already on that, since they already moved into Nintendo's building. Game Freak did, so they're right next to them. So that might already be in the works for that. And then you combine that with the $1 billion investment back into game development Nintendo just talked about in their investor meeting. I'm guessing that's going to be one of the major areas that they go into, because they've already invested in Monolith Soft. They expanded that.
Monolith's busy though, aren't they? Now they're doing Xenoblade. They're doing
all sorts of stuff. But when Nintendo first got them, I think they had under 60, 70 employees, maybe less than that. And now they have almost 300. Now they're 200, high 200s. So Nintendo's expanded that, and they have 4 or 5 different studios across Japan. So I think that could be part of it. That's why Game Freak moved into the building.
I was just surprised that they were like, yeah, Ilka can do this. That's fine. And I'm like, oh, whoa, hold on. Can we get other studios involved here too while we're at it? So, I mean, it'd be interesting to think about going forward if Legends Arceus works out. I think it's going to sell well. I think it'll come out and it's Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
It's going to do well.
It has Pokemon in the name, so we already know it's going to sell well. It'd be weird if it didn't actually. I don't know if it's going to sell Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl levels, because that has 2 copies, but I think it'll do pretty well.
Well, we just need to set up a petition.
That's it. That's the one.
Boycott it.
Hey, that works, right?
Boycott petition, and we should get the numbers.
Yep, absolutely. That'll do it. Okay. Evan, do we have any Discord questions we go over?
What is your most controversial food opinion? Guessing this is related to the RGT conversation from.
I have an actual question. All meat is disgusting. Even as I eat it now, it's absolutely disgusting.
You still eat it though?
Oh yeah, I eat it, but it tastes terrible. If I wasn't trying to put on muscle, I would never eat it. All
Max
meat tastes
here
like blood.
I
literally am like that. I hate it.
I have 0 issues with pineapple on pizza.
Same.
That's the traditional.
Drop it on there, no problem.
I'm really trying to think, but
well done. Or medium rare steak. People that eat blood steak, Castlevania steak. I hate that.
Oh,
like it's all red in the center.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, we've already had this discussion where
Are you steak shaming?
Your Castlevania blood pumping steak, your Dracula
leather
blood.
man,
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. It's disgusting.
No.
It's disgusing.
No,
You should not eat. It's red. It's red.
Excuse me.
It's red.
yeah, that's free ketchup. Anyway, I'll retroactively go to a drink related thing. I famously on this podcast slandered eggnog, and I had a whole thing in my my Christmas content about me going to drink eggnog, and I can officially say,
Tell me how good it is.
as an adult, it's all right.
Yeah, see, there you go. There you go.
But the last time I had it before this moment, when I was a
disgusting.
kid, and I hated it. So it's been a long time, and you know what? It was all right.
Nope, it's disgusting. Nope, not going. Nope,
Definitely not the best, but it's very all right. It's very
Give
passable.
me Diet Sunkiss any day. That's my holiday drink.
All right. What else got, Evan?
MVG question. Would you consider making a channel or series about game development for current aspiring devs like myself or others?
You know, I have thought about a second channel. It's really just about finding the time, but I have some ideas about something along those lines. So just keep following me. Maybe we'll do something.
Okay, cool. You did one for the Game Boy. And I thought it was pretty interesting. So that'd be cool.
Yep.
Sounds like a lot of work.
You know, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, I only have so much time in a week.
Yeah.
But, I do want, like, I'm seeing people doing second channels and stuff, and I kind of want to get in on that as well. So I may set up a second channel and do something along those lines. Be cool, I think.
What would you call it?
I don't know yet.
Gamer.
GMV.
I mean, everyone always does like more, or plus, or any of those. You know,
I would do
like
MVG squared.
Can I call it? They took my ape. Something like that.
Think for yourself.
think for yourself's a good one.
Oh, that's not bad.
You know what? I could see that channel being bigger than the main channel with a title like that.
Think for yourself. I like that actually.
Beefy.
Hey, hold on. Copyright pending.
Beefy.
Yeah, you gotta get the beefy NFT.
I got it already. I had the one of one. Well, so does the artist, probably.
You got another one, Evan?
The Brazilian community is asking for a localized translation of Breath of the Wild. With what happens with the trash Spanish from Spain version of Pokemon, what will it take for Nintendo to localize for their massive audience in Latin America? Apparently, I looked into this because we did have a question a few weeks back about Spain Spanish versus Latin American Spanish, and there's like colloquialisms where something innocuous in Spanish spoken in Spain will mean something horrendously slanderous in Latin America, but Nintendo just does the Spain version of Spanish and then sends it to Latin America. So like you could be just playing a game where it's like something nice and happy, and instead the person's reading it as "fuck you and your mom," like that kind of stuff.
Another 3.
I actually was there was like a whole movement for a while going on, especially over Twitter, over getting things translated specifically to like Brazilian, Portuguese and stuff like that. And it's actually very, very interesting because Brazil is a huge population, not just Latin America, but Brazil specifically itself. So when I found that out, because I just assumed natively that Brazilian Portuguese would be translated into. I think that Nintendo honestly should branch out to it, but again, it is one of those things like the European Portuguese, like the Portuguese, it has slightly different variations. And again, like when you have it translated over to the Latin America, kind of, not to mention everything in Brazil is extremely expensive. Like I feel so bad for everybody there. Like it is so expensive over there for everything. But I really feel like Nintendo hopefully can take the time to get things locally translated for the gamers in Brazil, because love y'all and you're great, but yeah, it's rough right now.
My older brother is a polyglot. He speaks